That's true. That was something that we kind of always talked about in that game one draft was Boom seemed to kind of be doing mainly what they wanted. There were some heroes picked out that probably were target sort of counters, but it felt more Boom knew what they wanted. They stuck to it, but T1 were looking at what Boom were picking up and reacting to it. So maybe that's going to change up a little bit more as we do head into game number 2 draft here. But the bans coming out from Boom are going to be the exact same, that OD and Shadow Demon, John.
Yeah, just looking to play it safe. I think they don't want that potential OD. It's such a big headache. And we've seen a lot of teams run it before. It hasn't been picked up too often here in the regional finals because it is just first phase ban. I find it interesting that T1 are the ones opting to ban out Raid King now because I feel like that's something they could flex themselves. They don't have first pick overall, so maybe Boom might be confident enough to take a first phase Raid King. I don't think it's the best move draft-wise, but when you have Jackie, you might consider it. So they banned it out. I think that actually helps Boom more. Because I feel like Cuckoo's Wraith King flex is actually a scary prospect because it works. The 2 times we've seen it, it does work. So I think this limits T1's options a bit more for something wacky. They take care of the Lina as well, which is also interesting because T1 had that for Carl. So they leave a lot more options here for, say, the Yopaj hero, for a Jackie hero, even the FBZ hero. They haven't focused on any offlaner at all, so I think Boom has a lot more leeway, and they just go to the Kunkka. If it worked in game 1, if Yopaj had an insane 16-0-9 game, why not?
Don't fix it if it's not broken, I think is the saying here for Boom Esports. So T1 will at least take the death profit this time around. And Skem was doing some fantastic work that game, so I think just denying it away and taking it for yourself is probably a smart idea. As surprise, surprise, Whitemon's eating during the draft. So I was wondering when this is going to happen. They also go for the Treant, speaking of Whitemon, so I think Whitemon probably will take that for himself, and we have seen a lot of Treant Protector from this man. I guess it's a great way of just slowing down the tempo of Boom Esports, is just protecting those initial tier 1 towers. Then again though, the Treant Protector's on and off for me. Like sometimes it looks amazing, really? And then other times it's just like, if you can't hold the tier 1 towers, it just feels useless.
10 seconds remaining.
I quite like the tree once he gets his shot. I think that adds another little aspect. Obviously, all dependent on the vision game and whatnot that's going to be playing out. But it is pretty cool when you come out of Invis and you can get that root off. It's nice when you get little pickoffs every now and then. So I do get what you mean. The tree can sometimes sit in the middle, but I quite like him. I think he still has a little bit of a purpose once you get past the tier 1 towers. Let's say if you don't hold on to them. But John, what are you thinking about these opening picks right now?
I'd say I like Booms a little bit more. I like the Kunkka with a Weaver. I think down the line, we don't see Tim's rush it too much, but the Ag's potential is really strong with a Kunkka boat. The early tempo you have with Weaver is really strong. The Urn build-up, Solar Crest can really amp up Jackie's usually safe lane core. Even the Kunkka is going to benefit a lot from that. I think for T1, with the DP Treant, they have some flex for the DP. That could be a Carl mid hero. I think that could be one way to run it to counteract Kunkka, although that's still a lane that feels very comfy for Kunkka. But what T1 are looking to do is slow down that pace. As Mike said, they're looking to defend their tier 1 towers. And I do agree with you, Nat, that there is some scaling for the Treant, but I think that emphasis for the hero really is tier 1 defense. Like, if you do drop those towers fast, the hero will have to soak farm. We're talking about not just Ag Shard, but to really maximize that, to get a good angle on that tree line jump, you're going to need a blink to play around with your overgrowth as well, and that's a lot of investment from the pause 5, and we saw that be an issue for T1 in game 1, where you had Nyx and Lion, both heroes, you know, they can play 4-5 each, but they do need farm. Lion on the 5 especially, blink timing's just delayed so much from that sacrificial role, and we saw Whitemon just never pick it up because there wasn't enough room, there wasn't enough time in that game. So I think the Treant should have an easier time there because it can stall the game. So you can kind of build up, and you can maybe even divert for a Meteor Hammer, be a bit greedier, farm up the side lanes that way, and kind of build up for your team and getting yourself that big area control. Overgrowth is a huge circle, so it can kind of play nicely there. But I think you're going to need more to build up. Like with a Treant to set up with Overgrowth, you want some team fight on top of it. I'm seeing a Snapfire that's still available for T1 if they want to go that route. Overgrowth and Kisses are pretty strong if they want that.
Is there a little bit of a worry that if the early game doesn't go to the favor of T1 like we saw in game 1, that they might be heading towards a little bit too much of a greedy lineup?
I think, yeah, I think if they can't win out the lanes, and again, if they lose those T1 towers, I think T1 could be in a spot of danger, because again, this Train Protector, yeah, look, it's good at D-pushing, it's good at holding towers, but again, the T1s are so important right now in this meta, so if this hero can't hold it and just keep constantly healing it up with living armor, it's probably going to be a bit of a problem. That being said, though, I think T1 haven't gone too greedy so far. Like, with this draft, we haven't seen the cores come out yet. So, you know, it might be about just kind of being a bit more selfless from Gabby or Carl as well. Like, give them a less greedy core, at least one of them, because they are both quite greedy in the way they farm, right? So you probably want to have at least Carl or Gabby setting tempo with this game in game number 2, and it does seem like we might go that way, because we do have a Quap on the board, and I think Carl will probably take that for himself, though it is flexible with Cuckoo, to be fair.
Still pretty open where you can lane that. I think the mid matchup for Quap versus Kunkka, it is playable for Quap. We've seen that a couple of times. I think the tendency is by level 5 you go 3-0-2, so Shadow Strike is the emphasis. And you can kind of trade with Kunkka with that kind of build. I just think in the laning phase, Kunkka still comes out on top. You can threaten with X, so the blink doesn't feel as useful if you will divert from that build, say 2-1-2. And I like what Boom has done. I was thinking about this FBZ here. Beastmaster comes out up against a Treant that just overwhelms the living armor. So you've got the push coming out now. You've got great hold with Aurora. Your lane is pretty darn good, considering that you might be expecting DP Treant as supports now. Neither of them really clears out the boars all too well. Maybe the DP has a bit of a better time, but it's not an instant counter. You know, it's not like you're playing against Enchantress or you're playing against a CM. I think FBZ is going to be able to manage that lane. And we've got the Tim special. We've got the Mirana with the X arrow setup. So Boom feeling confident bringing out that Mirana. And every single time we see Tim's in that hero, it's pretty devastating for the enemy team.
He is a phenomenal Mirana, but I am enjoying Mirana just slowly coming back into the meta, into a little bit more pro play. It is nice to see her, especially on Tim's. But MLP, this last pick for T1 in the second phase here, what do you think that they should be heading towards, and what sort of cards do you think they should reveal with this pick?
I mean, it's hard because the Quap can go anywhere, right? So safe lane, mid lane, off lane, it can just sit anywhere right now. I think you're best off maybe picking up a carry here and not revealing the off lane or mid lane, depending on where the Quap wants to go. So I don't think it would hurt to bring out the Gabby hero right now. But the problem is you don't know what Jackie's playing, but nevertheless, they take the Gabby hero anyway. They'll take the Morphling, so Morph is fine. You know, a little bit greedy, but, you know, you have the Quap mid, arguably, so it should be fine. They should be able to make that space. Morph feels very good as well when you're playing against heroes like the Weaver, right? Because you can naturally take Sakuchi away. You can morph into your Queen of Pain and have that blink up. Even the DP with the Spirit Siphons are quite nice, so I think the Morph does have a lot of value just in the ulti right now, and that may be what T1 want to try and play off. That being said, Nat, I think Boom Esports now have a very aggressive style of lineup, and, you know, he may not have that time to be able to get up to that point where he's a really deadly kind of carry.
Yeah, I see how you guys are like sort of related that hopefully the tree is going to hold those T1s long enough so that Morph can come online, sort of stall out the game, give him that little bit of space. But if we play anything like they did in the game 1, I really am a little bit worried for how it's going to go. T1 sort of banking on that, let's wait it out, let's go a little bit longer with the Morph pick here. What about you, John? Where do you think bans are going to land now? Are T1 looking to protect the Morph with their bans, or just really shut down the last pick for Boom?
I think they're just going to focus in on any potential matchup from Jack Boys, although I feel like with a Beastmaster lane already, you have an early response to Morphling, so that's going to force maybe a Linken's build up on Morph, so no early shotgun to look for kills. He's going to need protection from the X or the Roar. Thing is, Boom does have some decent ways of at least popping that. I think you're only really going to be blocking out once in that reveal, and afterwards you can adjust here on the side of Boom. I think the issue for T1 is that they didn't have many options left in terms of that Beastmaster lane, because there was no option for TB and no option for PA. PA probably the best one to deal with Boris, so they're just going to have to play with this. Now, the good thing about Morphling is you've got a Morphling Treant lane. Living Armor does get a lot of value when you do shift down your Agi all the way, so you can kind of regen pretty quick in lane. It's not like an Abaddon combination where Mistcoil's a lot faster. So I think there's still going to be some downtime there where we're going to be shoved away to your tier 1 and FBZ can just get all the farm he needs. For Boom now, we are looking for that big pause one. And I love that T1 do ban out the Medusa. That has been a constant factor for Boom. Not many natural Jackie heroes left, I'd say. You could go with a lot, though. I feel like Luna might be a good way to go. It does come online very fast. I know Mike doesn't particularly like to hear it's not been a very good spot. But Luna with Beastmaster can push really fast. The tempo is very quick as well. It will overwhelm the tier 1 towers. And you do hit earlier farming spikes than Morphling. And you will out-farm a Morphling as well just because you've got the Glaive. So I think Luna could be one way for Boom to play fast even on a pause 1 and prevent T1 from stalling out to the late game.
Mike, if you're not a big fan of the Luna, then what would you potentially like to see Boom pick up?
It's hard, right? Because a lot of carries have been removed. So John's point of the Luna is actually fair, I think, this time around. I do hate it, but it does.
This time,
yeah, just one time I think Boom could take it. It's very hard because we don't get to see much from Jackie. He's been playing Lifestealer apart from the Medusa Wraith King, so we know that's the third hero. Problem is when you go.
Take.
You've got to go on, John. What's the spicy
How about an
take?
AM? A Jackie AM up against a Morphling. You don't have Hexes to hold. You don't have Overgrowth. They go with Troll instead, which is still fine. You can build Diffusal. You can maybe go Battle Fury if Jackie wants to go Lake. I doubt he's going to go that route. I think we're going to see maybe Maelstrom SNY as the build-up, and then maybe a Diffusal in between. You can still handle the Morphling well. And you can push pretty fast. So it's not quite the Luna. Thankfully for you, Mike, I think the Troll fits in a lot better. I feel like an AM would have worked, but it's a very risky pick just because AM's not a very good hero right now. It is a direct counter to Morph. Now, for T1, what they're going to need is a way to handle that Troll in lane. And to be honest, Troll doesn't lose lane all too often. If it gets bad, you play from ranged. If it's a strong lane for Troll, you go melee and just twack away. And with a Weaver pause 5, the minus armor with the bugs, that makes it a very strong lane for the Troll to actually look to play aggressive.
That is fair. CM comes out.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. T1
well.
I want to get that nerf out for CM next patch, I guess. Just choose it right now.
This does shake up a little bit of what we were anticipating with Whitemon now going on CM there. And I think it does shake up a little bit of where the expectations for T1 were going. But John, last pick coming out there, how do you like the T1 Boom matchup draft-wise?
I think Boom come out on top. I mean, the CM pick is great for handling Beastmaster. So you do have the route to instantly melt that board. Level 1, even level 2 is going to be pretty bad. But I don't know if your CM is going to provide you much. You do have good combinations with, say, Freezing Field and Overgrowth, some big circles to stack on top of each other. I just feel like Boom's going to be able to play around that. So we'll have to see how much T1 can get out. The DP versus Kunkka lane is in play. So again, there are ways for Call to play that, but I think Yopaj should still be able to break through net regen on the DP with the Tidebringer and just handle that lane fine.
I saw your face there, Mike, when he mentioned the circle, but just quickly, a non-circle analysis. How do you like the matchups?
You remember how we talked about never betting against Yopaj Ember? It goes with the Tim's Marana too. You never bet against Tim's Marana. This is going to probably be problematic for T1. I feel very bad for Whitemon this game because he's playing Crystal Maiden, and we saw what happened to Cuckoo last game against Yopaj's Kunkka. What the hell's the CM going to do?
Very true. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be having my eyes look towards that way as well as we jump into game 2 of the grand final. Please, MLP and John, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. Now, we do get into it. Game number 2 between T1 and Boom Esports set to get underway. John, I don't have much faith in the T1 draft this time around, which probably means they're going to win. Do you have any faith in this draft?
I think it's got some timings to hit. It does feel a little bit faster. I mean, you've got a much better sacrificial support for Whitemon, so he's not going to mind dying too much. It's not like game 1, where there was still a need for Lion to get Blink. You can kind of just leave that all the way to Zephyr.
She's moving too fast. What's this movement speed? Can we get a nerf on Crystal Maiden, please? My goodness.
Oh, stop it, Mike. I actually do miss playing CM. You know, she was one of my favorite supports, and now it's actually game losing when I pick up CM, so love it back. Still, early aggression out. They catch Zephyr here, Mike.
Uh-oh, they have caught Zephyr. Screw the CM for now, because Zephyr's in big, big trouble. He's going to try and run, but Yopaj, would you believe it, will take first blood on the Kunkka. keep in mind, John, Yopaj has not died once yet this series, so we're going to keep track of when that first kill is going to come along for this Kunkka. For now, though, he is theoretically 17-0 in terms of this grand final.
Yeah, just a great time with the Kunkka, back-to-back picks. No respect ban coming out from that. And I think again, we're expecting maybe the same things coming out here for Yopaj. In fact, maybe more aggression with Mirana. So keen to see if Boom does kick up gear with the X arrow combinations down the line, bully out Carl's hero, and just keep that DP shut down. Does end up being a stronger rune start as well here for Boom, 3-1. So that gold injection from the first blood into triple bounty runes for Yopaj is going to lead to a very quick bottle. Gonna put Carl on a bit of the back foot here, and I'd say first level for DP isn't amazing. Level 2 is a little bit better. It's by level 3 that you might be able to eke out with your Spirit Siphon, but you're also gonna have to deal with level 2 Tidebringer, which Yopaj knows how to work well, and even up against a ranged hero, he can just match up quite nicely.
Absolutely. You see them go at it right now, Yopaj and Carl. Already Yopaj getting very aggressive, but that's what you want to do before those Spirit Siphons get leveled up. After that, Carl, of course, is always going to be able to turn around and just kind of drain the life out of you. So he'll try to get the harassment while he still can. So I suppose we'll have a look at the other lanes as well while we do have a chance, rather. Cuckoo and Zephyr down at bot going to be against Skem and Jackie. So the Troll versus Weaver, or rather Troll and Weaver, excuse me. Pretty kind of dominant lane, right? Like with the Swarm, with the Troll damage, it can get kind of scary for T1.
Yeah, it is pretty scary. You do have good right clicks coming out from T1, especially with the Treant. It's very hard for Zephyr to gap close. Right, he can't go up. He can't use this massive 87 to 95 damage swing to bully out Weaver because he can't get close enough. And Cuckoo does go for the Scream of Pain build. He wants to clear out the creep wave, so he can't really jump forward with Shadow Strike to get the slow stacking on. And that is leading to a bit of a better start here for Jack Boys. Like, he's not contested at all. The wave is shoved out, but you're not necessarily looking to be aggressive here for Boom. You really just want your Troll to farm up, hit Falcon Blade, and kind of run from there.
Yeah. Of course, that final lane as well. You've got the top lane, which is Gabby and Whitemon against Tims and FBZ. And right now, Tims was being chased down, but he forced to salve up on that Mirana. The Morphling, I mean, for now, he's going to be just fine, and Gabby's having a great time farming. Whitemon able to be quite lane dominant early on this Crystal Maiden, but to be fair, Tims is going to chase him down now. Is there a stage in this top lane where it becomes more Boom Esports favored, or do you think T1 should have an advantage?
I think it does get favorable once Whitemon runs out of mana, which is what's currently happening. He does have 2 mangoes, getting out the clarity, but the moment you can't frostbite that boar is the moment the lane gets really hard for Gabby. Now, he is level 2, about to hit 3, so attribute shift is going to get up, and it should be a lot safer, but you can't really apply too much aggression here. Like, a CM is just very squishy. You can't trade with a Mirana, as you're seeing Whitemon just not even get any hits back. And CM, Mike, you're asking for more nerfs. It already moves at 280. Like, Tims can just run her down with 10 movement speed she has with a better range, and it's tough for Whitemon. At the least, Gabby's not stopping in farm, 16-1. So despite being up against a Beastmaster, he's not being slowed down at all.
I love the fact that he's got the little puppy cosmetic as well, and the puppy's just slowly walking right by Whitemon, like he's getting impatient, like he just wants to run. It's a good laugh. So mid lane, Yopaj in a bit of trouble right now. Carl getting a lot of damage off. So this is that point where the DP starts to get a little bit more lane dominant, but Yopaj already ready with the salve out on the Kunkka. And in terms of CS, the Kunkka's having a really damn good time right now. Carl just trying to catch up, but Yopaj, he's, apart from that harassment, is kind of uncontested at the moment.
Yeah, he's not really getting too much substantial damage out with the Torrents and Tidebringer, as the DP is still fairly durable, but there's always that threat of rotation down the line. We are hitting 4-minute mark, next set of water runes coming out, very important for both of these mids to secure it, and no supports coming out, so not going to be seeing that kill potential yet, but you always have to worry about where that Mirana is, because X Hour is a very devastating combo early on.
That it is. Speaking of devastating, Carl and Skem going at it for a little bit. Skem does take the water rune away from Carl, and that's going to be very detrimental for the DP now, as Carl does not have any way to fill up that bottle at the moment. We'll get a salve off Zephyr though, so he's going to be quite healthy going back into that mid lane. And he can't really leave at the moment, as he does need that XP quite desperately and needs to be able to keep up with the Kunkka. So he knows what happens if you don't manage to, as Yopaj will just keep chipping away at the HP pool of Carl. I really like the way he's played this. Like, he doesn't get too close to Carl. He'll wait for the torrent, he'll land that, he'll come in for a Tidebringer swing, and that'll be enough for your push. He'll back right up.
Yeah, you are holding the lane quite nicely, though. Like, this is a lot better for Carl. He's not seeing any sort of early movements out. His side lanes are going a lot better for the team. So I think T1's getting a little bit more in this laning phase in comparison to the first game, and that's important because we saw Boom just work their shift out with the tri-lane very well. No such early advantage here, but they are looking to be a bit aggressive on Cuckoo.
Now, Cuckoo doesn't have any levels on Blink Up right now, so they certainly can afford to, though Skem now being chased down by Zephyr, taking so much damage, but he will have Sakuchi in a second, so instead they'll turn back onto the tree, and the end won't be able to reach that deep into the tree line. So Cuckoo and Zephyr both going to be just fine. Mind you, Jackie is still able to farm up very comfortably down at this bot lane. So no real pressure being applied from the side of T1 in the off lane, but I suppose as long as Gabby's keeping up with Jackie, you're kind of happy about it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, your Morphling is still hitting some good farm spikes. It is going to be a Linken's first up against a Beastmaster as expected, but FBZ is not really able to get that slowdown. However, FBZ is also not too far behind in terms of his own form. Dominator is not too far off. I think that's the timing Boom's going to be looking for. Once you have that Dominator, early push comes out top, and then you start eating into that Morphling's jungle, which can hurt Gabby unless they get that early push going bot. They will still have to work their way through a Treant, but I think with a Beastmaster, it's not going to be enough. Like, you don't even have a level in the living armor up from Zephyr yet, so that potential stall out in the push won't be up when the Dominator is.
Be problematic. Now Tims will rejoin that top lane. So very quiet laning stage thus far from both sides. We've only seen one kill happen this game, and that was before the laning stage even begun. We have seen Boom trying to get aggressive in those side lanes, but it hasn't amounted to too much, whereas T1, they have been much more defensive thus far. I suppose it's fair, because they do need those initial levels up before they can choose to get aggressive. I suppose, again, as long as the Morphling's farming, you'll be happy to just trust that he'll be able to overtake later on in the game. So maybe you could have applied a bit more pressure to the Kunkka mid as your Page is top of the net worth again, but I suppose with the supports you have, you don't really have that rotation potential here from T1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a CM and it's a tree, and you don't really have the best angles to jump a Kunkka, and he's pretty darn tanky at this point. So you don't have that burst as well with this lineup in comparison to game one with Alina, with Lion, Nyx. You don't have that instantaneous kill potential. So going on to Yopaj is probably not the best bet. I think this defensive play for T1 is working out quite nicely though. Boom is getting a lot more from the lanes. They do maintain a 2k lead just from laning alone with not many kills on the board. But you're in a position where you're not bleeding out in T1. You're just playing it safe, waiting to hit levels, waiting to hit some items. And you've already got Exorcism ready to go from Carl, so all you really need is the DP to swing by, perhaps bot, look for a bot tier 1 push, and go from there, or a collapse on mid, and force the issue onto that mid tier 1. But again, slower pace, not hurting T1 too bad. You have a Morphling, you don't really mind this.
Kind of curious though, when are they going to make that rotation down bot? In fact, hold that thought, because now FBZ's in trouble at top lane, but they can't really follow up. In the meantime, though, Cuckoo has been caught out down bot. Page with the rotation on the Kunkka will set up a kill there for Jackie. They are still trying to chase down FBZ up top, but they cannot catch him by that T1 tower, and now Tims is rotated. He'll be looking for a nice cheeky arrow. No, he's going to throw it onto the neutral camp instead. Looks like they are just satisfied with the kill onto Cuckoo and the fact that FBZ does survive on the Beastmaster.
It looks like T1's planning a bit of a movement down bot now, though. Carl dragged down, and Jackboys is alone. Does not quite have the battle trance up, but has the skill point ready to go. Does read that movement, though, and backs off, so they're not going to find that juicy pause. 1 kill. That is the push coming out from T1. Again, they should commit Exo here for that, and Boom aren't in the position to trade yet, but the Dominator is up for FBZ, so if he wants to, he could just focus in on top and try to go for a trade.
Jackie's sticking around here. Exorcism is popped. Do Boom Esports really want to try and defend this? It does feel a little bit scary to try and fight into that Exorcism, and there is 4 heroes around from T1. Jackie will show up again, and here comes your Page. You have boat up in 8, so maybe they could just scare off the side of T1. Zephyr, getting a nice bit of information here for his team. Yopaj still very confident as the exorcism is starting to wear off, but now they'll move in onto that Kunkka. But there's your bow down, and Cuckoo, he got caught by the torrent, and with the Tidebringer damage is too much. Cuckoo cannot tank through it, and Jackie will take the kill on the troll, and that's going to put an end to that T1 bottom tower push. Zephyr now has been scouted out by the Hawk, and Snare on the first hit after the TP, and Zephyr, he's still going to try and run, but there is no running. Jackie with a double kill. And the defense does work out very nicely here for Boom Esports.
Yeah, great movement out. I think the one issue for Boom is that they drag FBZ bot as well. So they're going to be shoving in the bot tier 1, not the biggest tower to take on the Radiant side. You would much rather have the Beastmaster push top, but this is going to force a response from T1. For T1, they are buying space out for Gabby. He gets to sit top, he gets to farm freely, not under contention by anyone. Jackie will head to that lane now, but not much a troll can really do about that. So you are sacrificing some of your supports for the bigger picture here. I think that is still worthwhile for T1, but it's looking a bit dire. 4-0 start is not ideal. We are still at the 10-minute mark. 2K lead still stands for Boom. And we're slowly inching towards those early items that we saw in Game 1, Mike. Yopaj rushing the BKB once more. I think you have to worry about that Kunkka just having the confidence to stand forward with a BKB protection. T1's going to need to somehow match that, but no one's going to be going for early spell immunity, especially not the Quap. Cuckoo's just holding on, has the urn, no charges up. They need to find a way to connect that exorcism from a kill into a push. But as we saw down bot, it's just difficult to pull off, even with the forward information a Treant can give you.
At least Gabby is getting close to that Lincoln Sphere, and once he does have that Ethereal Blade up, maybe he can just start joining his team and start to assist in trying to fight back here against Boom Esports, as things have been rather tough for T1s thus far. Moonlight Shadow going to be popped here by Tims. So they are going to head up towards that top tier 1. So they might just want to try and just focus on that, get that going. In the meantime, bot lane, FBZ and Skem are going to go for a bit of a split push here. So they're going to make T1 decide where they want to try and defend. And this puts the Treant Protector in a very hard position. So you don't know what to living armor at the moment. And for T1, you don't know where to go to fight. They're not that mobile. They've got to make a decision. The problem is, Boom can take both if they really want to, though Jackie has been left by himself, so maybe you could capitalize off that at the top lane. They're going to try now. Onto that troll wall if they go. He does have Tims around, but Tims, he'll miss the arrow. With the silence out, they will get the troll. Nice rotation from Carl, as now they'll move back in onto Tims. He'll try to leap away, but Whitemon will chase him down, eventually landing the Frostbite. And they're looking for that Roshan deny, but it's not going to work out as Carl gets a double kill on the Death Prophet. And I suppose you still lose that bottom tier 1 tower, but you get 2 kills for yourself on T1, and that's going to feel good.
Yeah, they slow down the troll. That's the big hero you want to actually pin down, and they're punishing Jackie for playing very far forward there. At the same time, they're not able to use that exorcism into a push. They chase across the map. I think Tims managed to buy out that space to protect their top tier 1. And now, knowing Exo is down, Boom's just clumping up mid.
They are. Skem with the Sakuchi can get plenty of vision. Of course, the Hawks being sent out as well makes it so hard for T1 to have the advantage in any team fight. We've seen this before from Boom. I mean, FBZ is very good at getting those Hawks in a nice position to just always have the information necessary to take whatever fight you want. And Gabby, he was caught out there for a second, but he will waveform away. Salves up and goes back towards that tier 1 top tower. T1 just got to bide their time, as Boom Esports, they will hold that 3k net worth advantage. And that BKB you talked about, John, it is now up on the Kunkka.
So Yopaj is ready to just take point once more. This is the moment when Boom really starts to play aggressive with that Kunkka. I don't think the burst potential is quite there. I think you are a little bit tanky here on T1's heroes. Maybe not so much in Quap, but definitely for Carl. He's not under direct threat. They are still clumping around Jackboys here down bot. He does have this defusal, but nothing defensive here.
Can you silence him up, though? He's got the battle trance, and it'll go right onto Whitemon. Still, Whitemon will just Giga Chat it up and just man-fight through it. He does get taken out, however, but Jackie is going to drop, so Gabby will be very happy with that kind of trade. Yopaj now going to try and catch somebody out. Skem will get all the information necessary, as they are going to spot out Gabby, but he does have another waveform ready whenever, but he's into the arrow now. Stunned up, but he got the strength morph in time. He'll be just fine. They get Jackie once again on the troll. Mind you, Jackie got the defusal blade before he dropped, but it's still a massive kill here for T1.
It's a great movement out from T1. Issue is, when it comes to objectives, Boom are still getting more. They cleared out top with FBZ split pushing with his Dominator. Because the fight was being forced bot, no response up there. I think overall, you're still happy here on Boom. You're losing your pause 1, but you're forcing T1 to group up very tight. And you're giving space out to at least one core to work that map while everyone else is distracted.
Whitemon has been scouted. Skem, he'll keep moving, but Cuckoo is there to try and help out. Problem is with the time lapse, it's going to be rather hard to try and blow him up, as Skem will just run his way out of there. Cuckoo will keep trying to chase him. Well, Silence was a little bit late to the party. That does mean Skem should eventually be able to Sakuchi his way back out of the situation. He's wasted plenty of time here from T1 as they just run around in circles, which is something I'm sure you're very happy about, John.
Love me my circles, Mike, and circles being drawn in the map as well. What's not circular is the farm coming out from Jackie and Boom in general. They play top jungle because of that push. They go into Roche, and T1 do not have vision around this area. You've got the vision advantage with the Hawks keeping track of that top jungle. This is a pretty quick Roche as well, with the damage output of Jackie already and the aura coming through here from FBZ, and T1 have no room to respond. Even if they did, they'd have to kind of play with walking up on a tree and getting overgrowth, and it's just a bit too slow in the smoke. So big advantage for Boom. 6k lead, 16 minutes in, Mike. 6-3, slower game, but Boom has been very efficient in getting their farm up and forcing very intelligent fights to distract T1 away from other cores to build up.
Yeah. I like the Diffusal Blade build up as well on Jackie, right? Like that. It's going to be very annoying for Gabby to have to deal with on that Morphling, and even though we haven't seen much from Jackie yet, and he has been caught out a couple times, he is going to become a real problem throughout this mid-game. As it looks like he's ready to just join his team and fight whenever. I mean, meanwhile, Gabby's still trying to farm that Ethereal Blade, so he's going to be quite a while away from wanting to join his own team. And even in the team fights we have seen Gabby participate in, he hasn't really been able to do much. He just hasn't got the utility yet.
No, and I think we've seen this a couple of times when SMG picked up that Morphling. You know, you're kind of forced to drag the Morphling in for some damage. At the same time, it doesn't do enough without itemization. I think that's the big issue for T1. Like, their big damage is basically coming out from Cuckoo. We haven't seen the Sonic Wave as well.
Arrow. Oh, Arrow's gonna land, and the Agimorph was there. Oh, Tips. Give the tips out to Tims. I did not think that arrow was gonna land, but it was right on the backside of Gabby, and oh, he was Agimorphing John. He was not expecting that. Meanwhile, across the map, they try to go onto Skem, but they just can't hold him down, as now the Roar is out onto Whitemon. That'll be a nice, easy pickup for FBZ, as T1 once again have found themselves trying to rotate across the map to deal with Boom Esports.
Yeah, they just aren't getting anything out. And I think for T1, you've got to secure safe farming spots here for Gabby. Like, he does have that Lincolns. It's not enough with an arrow and Cuckoo.
Oh, Tims. There's a reason they call him the Filipino sniper, John. On this Marana, he does not miss. Another great kill set up by Tims. And off we go, up towards that top tier 2 tower once again. What's there to stop Boom now with the quap down?
Nothing. He's the big damage. He's the one that needs to get that Sonic Wave off. Look at Skem. He's running up to Whitemon.
He can just time-lapse away as the arrow does land once again from Tims. They even leave Whitemon. They'll let Jackie take the kill as they look for Zephyr now on the Tree and Protector. The X is going to be there from Yopaj, and that'll be another kill for Boom Esports. That tier 2 is just not safe, and Jackie, he's brought out the laughter again, John. He's very happy right now.
Oh yeah, he's getting everything he wants here. Number 2 in net for it. Yopaj is number 1, but he's been so active on the map. He's been snowballing off those kills. And with a protection here of the Aegis, why not go high ground? Your Treant's dead. It's still a level 2 living armor, even if he's alive. There is a Blink Overgrowth. We haven't seen that connect. Like, we need to see the Overgrowth Sonic Wave come in and a sustained fight with a DPXO on top, but Boom aren't giving them that opportunity at all.
Whitemon again X'd up, just a bit too far forward, and the Tidebringer hit almost taking him down. So it looks like Yopaj has gone for the Orchid build-up this time around, rather than the Silver Edge Rush. Still, they won't bother sticking around for that tier 3 tower. We'll leave it be for now and maybe try to hunt for another fight mid lane where Cuckoo is going to avoid the arrow this time. The smoke is there from T1. They've got to force the fight. Boom Esports, though, kind of prepared for this and just waiting for them to make their way in. As the creeps from FBZ almost baiting them in. They have seen Gabby. Torrent is going to land Gabby. Lincoln's arm broken, and now with the silence out, he can't strength morph. They get the overgrowth in time, but Gabby's gone. Sonic Wave is there, but what good is it when you've already lost the Morphling? Now Carl is going to try to run, but they X him right back into the loving arms of Jackie. And Cuckoo, well, he's out of mana. He can't blink away, and that's going to be 4 to go down for T1 as Boom Esports are just rolling all over them.
And that looked like the best angle for T1 that we've seen so far.
Whoopsie.
Like they managed to get a good overgrowth. Hey, just does pop. Jackie probably doesn't care too much as the high ground still opened up here. No overgrowth, no sonic wave, no exorcism. T1 can't really do much on the high ground right now for a defense. They've got freezing field, but what's Whitemon can do about it? Oh,
they're not missing these arrows, John. Whitemon just going to be sniped from a mile away as Scam gives the tips out. I mean, what do you do? We talked about it, John. He's playing Crystal Maiden against the draft of Boom Esports. You know he was going to be in trouble.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get why it's there. You know, just eat the boar, shut down FBZ, nice and that didn't do much.
They might not even die. Yeah, GG.
GG?
Another
Again.
very anticlimactic GG to come out from T1. This time 20 minutes in. 10 minutes before the last one. What do you do, John? Boom Esports. I don't know if it's the momentum. I don't know if they want revenge from yesterday, but they are just on fire today.
They really are, and, you know, I said T1 calling a GG early in Game 1 was, you know, a sign of confidence. This early call, 20 minutes in Game 2, I mean, it still allows them to reset, cut their losses, you know, try to reset, but it's hard. It's hard seeing that back-to-back. If you're a T1 fan, you're going to be wondering what the heck's going on, because I guess for T1 in this game, it did feel like the draft. You know, they were forced into CM to counteract Beastmaster just to eat the boars. They give Gabby the Morphling, but it's just such a slow hero considering how Boom plays. And I think T1 needs to match up to that. They've got to find a faster lineup to play with to match Boom's pace early on, because these guys just get running, especially when you give Yopaj Kunkka 2 games in a row. He just sets up and he's just all over the map looking for those kills, Mike.
Yeah, and you saw that very rare smile there from FBZ after that game too. Obviously, Boom Esports now feeling extremely confident. I mean, we're going to go to the panel very soon after a short break, so I'll hold my questions for you there, John. But I am really curious as to what T1 can do now going into this Game 3. We'll head to a short 10-minute break, then we'll be right back with our Game 3 panel. See you then.